I would like to open with a song, but before that I'd like to give it a little explanation. This week was March break, and so I had my daughter shadowing me all week. She got to sit in the office downstairs and color and do things while I worked, or if I had some appointments she could go to, then she went with them. Occasionally I had to take her to a babysitter, but she shadowed me pretty much all week. So Thursday afternoon, as a treat, I took her to a concert at St. Joseph's Roman Catholic Church on Sir John A. Macdonald Boulevard. It was a Chris Murphy, John McClure, Turpin's Trail concert, and it was wonderful. We were notified and by Heather, John's wife, minister at Battersea and Inverary, that it was going on, and we decided to join them there. And when I got there, Heather said, "Listen, I've invited the Syrian community to be with us." And so, amongst all the great people of the parish and others from the city, in came a significant number of the refugee families to share in the concert, and it was and they were frightened. They huddled basically together in one small corner at the front of the church, and the children were all sitting on the floor, clustered completely together and not interacting. So I went over and I introduced them to Mia and explained that Mia was not born in Canada either, and the kids started to play. And in that moment, my phone went off because I get news notices, and it was the BBC, CBC, CTV, Reuters news services. They're all on my phone, all chirping up about the shootings in the mosques in New Zealand. And I'm sitting there in front of a Roman Catholic altar presentation with the crucified Jesus sitting on front of it, very much a Lenten image for us, with refugees who are of another faith, of the Muslim faith, who are engaging in the community and asking questions and curious about the religious accoutrements and taking pictures and sharing it. And it, against the juxtaposition of this other thing, it felt like my personality was being split apart. So I want to speak about it, and I want to start with a song. And it's important for me that I start with this song, and I'll explain that afterwards.
In this world of darkness, evil rules by night, and somewhere in the shadows, someone's seeking light. No one loves his neighbor here. Nobody has the time. No one cares for anyone else in a world where the sun don't shine. Yusuf, Yusuf. Some sons dream of believing while they're young at heart. A few choose the path towards the land beyond the dawn. Who choose the path towards the land beyond the dawn.
Who will choose the path beyond the land of the dark? Choose the path to light. That song was written by a Muslim. His name is Yusuf Islam. Anybody here ever heard of him? You have all heard of him. Before he converted to Islam, his name was Cat Stevens. He's the man who famously made Morning Has Broken a popular hit, one that we have in our hymn books. A man of deep faith, whether it was his early Christian roots and now his last 40-year or 30, 40-year Muslim roots. And he's still a singer, and he's still seeking for people to understand that we grow together in life and faith, regardless of our cultures. And I had to use his words, because my first choice was going to be something like, where have all the flowers gone? The ones that actually asked the question that Ellen asked this morning, which was, when will we ever learn? There are so many questions when things happen. And we are mourning in Companion around the world. There's a vigil tonight in downtown Kingston at the harbour for the victims in New Zealand. That's why the image on the screen is the world crying with a map on which the edge of it is New Zealand. But it's not New Zealand. It's everywhere. And it's everywhere because people have chosen to live with darkness in their hearts. And when will we ever learn? There are so many questions in this world. So many questions. You know, some of them are silly, like, where do the socks go in the washing machine? You know, why do you only see one shoe on the side of the highway? Is there a lot of people walking around with only one shoe on? You know, one that I always pondered is if we're sending something, when we send it by car, it's a shipment. When we send it by boat, it's a cargo. You know, and they're funny and they're humorous. But then there's other questions such as, what is the meaning of life? Who am I? Can I know the truth? What do I really desire? The one that so many people ask and get the answers wrong, which is, what is wrong with me? Am I free? Do I belong? These are important questions today. Why is there something rather than nothing? Can I love? Can I love them? What is evil? Why do we keep doing hurtful things to one another? And when will we ever learn? I don't think as human beings we can stop asking questions. It's a part of our nature. Some people say that our journey in life is to live our questions. That's something I've always believed, that the questions are important. Sometimes the answers are not as relevant. But today we need to start seeking some pretty pertinent answers to some relevant questions. How long, O Lord? How long, O Lord? In the story from Genesis, God's promise to Abraham and Sarah, which was one of the scriptures that should have been read this morning and I didn't put it on the list, was for them that they would become a great nation. A nation to all the peoples of the earth. They would be blessed. The question is what does that mean for their people to become the great nations of the earth? Does that mean there's some sort of test that we all have to pass in order to fit into the in-group? We certainly know that God tested Abraham. Tested Abraham with Isaac and with Ishmael. Which is the ironic thing. All the peoples of the earth are descendants of Abraham. Muslims, Jews, Christians. We are all descendants to the two sons of Abraham. But we have been warring ever since. None of the questions are easy. None of them. And I understand that in that day and time there was expectations upon people that could be cruel. But Abraham actually lived in a society where you had to sacrifice. Sometimes you had to sacrifice your firstborn son in order to the god Marduk, in order to preserve your nation from invasion. Simple rule: kill your firstborn, the enemies won't invade. We know that to be not real, not true anymore. Abraham moved beyond it in his journey in life. He embraced the one God, the Holy One, the Creator, and found a new way. And he ended up responding to, as the words of Micah said, "With what shall I come before the Lord and bow myself before God on high? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with 1,000 rams, 10,000 rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sins of my soul? No," he said. "I have told you, O mortal, what is good. What does the Lord require of you? But to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God." Seriously, how hard is that to do? How hard is it to look at somebody who dresses in a burqa and not see a sister in faith? How hard is it to look at somebody with an olive skin and not see that inside we all bleed red? How hard is it to stop worrying about your economy and thinking other people are destroying it? We're doing that to ourselves. So easy to look at others so that we can dig out our own faults. What does the Lord require of us? Not to sacrifice our children and our families. Not to sacrifice our humanity. But to live accepting the sacrifice that has already been given, has already been made. That's why we're walking to the cross through Lent, to acknowledge the blood was shed once and for all on Golgotha. That we can live now as God's children of many peoples. It's a simple requirement: justice, kindness, and humility in relating to our families, in relating to our neighbors, and relating to the rest of the world. We all need to get caught up in that. And I mean that seriously. It means not staying silent. It's not listening to the news and going, "Oh, that's terrible." It means standing in a lineup in a store and actually engaging someone in a conversation. It means when my friends make comments and I don't want to say anything because they're my friends, I speak up and I say, "No, that's ignorant. That's ignorant. Why would you say that?" It means standing up for the broken and the frightened and the fallen. It means standing up the way we want others to stand up for us, so that we can all share equally in God's goodness and life. We all pray to the same God. There is no difference. It's just the way we come at it. But then, if you live in Deserano, all roads lead to Kingston, but you can take many roads to get here. It's all the way you see it. It's certainly what Jesus says when he recorded in Luke's Gospel, that he seeks to gather the children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings. This is who we are, the children of God, all living under God's protection. We need to learn to stop squabbling, because that squabbling is killing people. And in closing, I want to share with you a prayer by Rabia Terry Harris. She wrote this in New York. She is of the Muslim Peace Fellowship. And this was written many years ago, and it seems to fit today. It's entitled "A Prayer for 1,000 Years, Blessings and Expressions of Hope for the Millennium." Creator of the universe, preserve us from our own presumption. Do not let us close ourselves into ourselves, but open us continually into you. Let us be more in love with you than with our notions of you. Let us stop claiming to know everything so that we may understand something. Increase us in kindness. Make us people who care and who can take care, and who venerate the truth and recognize each other. Draw us with an irresistible beauty. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.